What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today is Monday, April 7th. Today is Monday, April 7th, and I thought I would take you guys on a quick walk with me. Something that had been on my mind to share with you guys about today is all around perspective. I know before we had talked about that saying that to keep calm and assume positive intent, but today we're going to talk a little bit about incorporating that into your day-to-day. So what might that look like? And this is something where if you say, okay, I'm going to keep calm and assume positive intent throughout my entire day, this is going to be something that you want to keep in mind ahead of time. So before you start your day, probably the day before, that's what you're going to want to focus on. When things come up throughout your day and you're tempted to be reactive, you can remember to shift your perspective to assuming positive intent. What might that look like? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So that might look like you're going grocery shopping and no one is able to wait on you, or you get in line and then the person who is supposed to check you out at the grocery store ends up leaving and putting the close sign right as it's your turn to be checked out, and then you start to tell yourself a story. Just to have these stories kind of as templates in your mind ready to go, no matter what the situation is. I have another lady that I watch, and she says whenever she's driving and someone cuts her off, she likes to pretend that, oh, well, maybe they have a wife that's going to the emergency room, or she's getting ready to have a baby. Sometimes when things like that happen to me and I feel like I'm being inconvenienced, and it would be easy to take it personal, to assume that the other person has a good reason for showing up the way that they're showing up. Maybe they had a bad day, maybe they're in a rush, maybe an emergency came up and they couldn't tend to my needs in the moment because they had something else that was important or pressing that they needed to deal with. And then it's easier to show that person grace when you can step back for a second and hop outside of yourself and try to see someone else's perspective. Even if that might not be what's going on, even if they're actually being rude, to also remember when someone is being disrespectful, often it's not just a one-off incident. That's more likely than not the way that they live their entire life, is in this state of just like being in the moment and not thinking about other people because they're so focused on making sure that they're okay. And again, that's not about you. So to remember, like when we're stressed out or we're frustrated by someone else's behavior, to remember that the way that someone else is showing up doesn't have to be about you, unless you make it about you. But your response is about you. So if we're able to shift our perspective and change the story that we're telling ourselves inside of our head, sometimes it can help make it easier to have an elevated response. I love you guys so much. I'm going to share with you a couple of verses real quick on shifting your perspective. And so here we go. So the first verse comes from 2 Corinthians 4:18, and it reads, "So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." The second verse comes from James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, as you face trials of many kinds, for the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing." So these verses are basically encouraging us that we can shift our perspective to see trials as opportunities to exercise our faith and our perseverance. But yeah, so next time you are faced with a challenge and you have an opportunity to respond in a Christ-like way, to get a little bit excited about it. That God might be using what the devil had intended to harm you to bless you. So good things might be coming out of what looks like a difficult situation, to keep that in mind. That God wants good things for us, and if we give him the opportunity, if we walk with him, if we're trusting him, if we're listening, things can turn out better than you could imagine. And the last verse comes from Colossians 4:5. It says, "Be wise in the way you act towards outsiders to make the most out of every opportunity." Yeah, so not just to shift your perspective around the interactions that you have with people from moment to moment, but throughout the entire day. To see it as a test, if you will, like an opportunity to walk with God, to choose the right path in every circumstance. And then that should help too, sometimes it can be easy to get caught up in the moment, and to see with our physical eyes instead of with our spiritual eyes what's really going on, to see each interaction with someone else or potential altercation as an opportunity to show someone else the love of God. And you have that opportunity. The best thing, I think one of my favorite things about that is remembering that even when I'm faced with challenges, I don't have to face them alone. I can remember to pray for otherworldly patience and otherworldly wisdom, for Christ-like patience and Christ-like wisdom. 10 times out of 10, God shows up, but that first step is in making the choice to trust him in every circumstance. I hope this was a blessing to someone today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye, guys.